Following the decline of the Tang Dynasty, the Song Dynasty is going to take over. And the Song Dynasty was founded by Song Taizu, and it's never as large as the Tang Dynasty, never as powerful as the Tang Dynasty either. And one of the reasons for their relatively weak military was that they didn't trust military commanders. And so the military is going to be placed under tight supervision. In fact, they basically put the military under the control of scholar bureaucrats. And this is kind of a high point for the scholar gentry class. Under the Song Dynasty, they were basically the highest social class. And the bureaucracy is going to become huge. They're going to recruit 4 to 5 times more scholars for the Song bureaucracy than what they had used under the Tang Dynasty. The Confucian examination system becomes even more competitive, and only about 1 out of every 330 or so people actually passed these exams. And the average age for when a person passed the first exam was about 30 or so. And ultimately, there were several levels of these exams. And so in order to get a upper level position in the government, you had to pass the highest level of these exams. And once you did, you could earn the title of Jinshi. And that would bring almost immediate high social status to you. And it would also bring prestige, not just to your immediate family, but it could bring prestige to your entire village. And so this is kind of a high point for the scholar gentry. But it's also one of the causes for the financial problems that are going to plague the Song Dynasty. They had a huge bureaucracy and were paying tons of money to pay for these bureaucrats. And the bureaucrats refused to lower their salaries. And because of that, high taxes were placed on the peasant population. Another thing that began to drain the bureaucracy was tribute payments. So the Song Dynasty, because of their military weakness, basically had to pay tribute payments to nomads in the north, specifically the Khitan peoples, the Jurchen peoples that attacked from the north. And early on, they actually fought wars against these groups, but the wars were draining them of their money. In the early days of the Song Dynasty, 3/4 of their tax revenues were going to these military expenditures. And so even though they were paying tribute payments to these nomads in the north, in actuality, it was cheaper to pay these tribute payments, which only amounted to about 2 to 3% of the state's income. It was cheaper to just pay them tribute than to continue to fight these ongoing wars against them. And so the Song Dynasty is going to be divided kind of into 2 halves. The northern Song Dynasty is eventually going to be overrun by these nomadic groups from the north. And when that happens, they basically just move their capital further south, and most of the population and most of the economy was in the south anyway. And so they simply moved their civilization further south. And they're going to continue to pay these tribute payments to the nomads in the north until they're eventually overtaken by the Mongols in 1279. Now, even though this was kind of a military-wise, a weak period in Chinese history, it was also in a lot of ways a golden age for Chinese culture and Chinese invention. And we'll look more at that shortly.